So I'm going to read an introduction.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into it.
Perfect.
All right. Solidcore has been helping clients build muscles since its founding in 2013. Now, the boutique fitness operator has locations across the U.S. Today, we're going to find out more about what Solidcore is and what its expansion plans are. We're talking with Josh Rainey from Solidcore. Live from New York, it's Where We Buy. That's right, you're listening to Where We Buy. It's the show where we talk with retail experts and visit the places where we buy. My name is James Cook. I research retail and real estate for JLL, and today we are recording live from the JLL booth at ICSC New York. Welcome aboard, Josh, to the JLL podcast train. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am super excited to have you. So Josh, you're the director of real estate and growth for Solidcore. So I want to get into kind of the real estate aspect of things, obviously, because that's what we care about on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
But first, how would you describe Solidcore to someone who's not been to Solidcore?
Yeah, so Solidcore is a intense strength training workout on a custom-built reformer. So like you mentioned, we were founded in 2013 in Washington, D.C. Our founder went out to LA, took a workout that just blew her mind and challenged her in ways that she didn't think she could be challenged from a fitness perspective, and wanted to be able to replicate that where she was back home on the East Coast. So built the studio by hand, truly an entrepreneurial story, and it's been up ever since then.
So challenged her in new ways. Like, tell me a little bit more about like what the workout is like.
Yeah, so our traditional format is 50 minutes. We also offer 30-minute express classes and then an advanced format 65-minute class. You are focused primarily on core, but we have different muscle calendars that essentially every month we're releasing a new, I would say, focus for the client to be able to work on different parts of their body. It's really about being intentional and slow with the workout. It's not something where we want you jumping around. It's not something where we want you to be overstimulated and keeping up with what you need to do. We're really there to guide you through slow movement so you get to that second stage of muscle failure and build back stronger. I think just with the rise of people looking into longevity, looking into understanding what their overall holistic wellness looks like from a long-term basis, science is pointing towards needing strength training as a critical part of your routine. And that's really the solution that Solidcore is looking to provide.
I feel like I'm hearing that message everywhere right now. I just opened up the newspaper. I clicked on an article in the news the other day, and it was all about how if you want longevity in your life, like just from a health standpoint, strength training is almost like a requirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about the specifics. It sounds like it's really intense.
Yeah, so it's on a reformer. So it's
what does that mean, reformer?
It is a machine that is it's traditionally used for Pilates. So essentially, you're on a machine, there's a carriage in the middle, two platforms on either side, and you're working between the platforms on different movements. So if it's a lower body day, you're going to be doing squats, you're going to be doing bungee. If you are doing an upper body day, you're going to be bringing in the cables to do some cable flies. You might pick up our dumbbells and do some bicep work. So just depending on the day, you're going to be doing different movements on and off the machine inside of our studio space for that 30-minute, 50-minute, 65-minute session.
So it sounds like it's pretty serious. Would you say the target customer is somebody who's really, an avid exercise type person?
I think that's a common misconception that I think the entire industry is trying to address with a lot of these harder, quote unquote, workouts. We traditionally, I would say, attracted a very active and I would say fitness-oriented consumer. As we've continued to grow across the country, we want to meet people where they are. So expanding our library of exercises, as well as expanding the format that we have. So that 30-minute session, I think, is really great to get people into the door and kind of experience something that is maybe a little bit easier to start off with. We also offer a starter 50 class too. So there's something for everyone in terms of your level of fitness sophistication or just the level of commitment that you want to put into your workout. And it's definitely top of mind for us to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and just our coaching style is very one-on-one. We want people to feel like they're the only person in the room with the coach so that they feel comfortable if they aren't necessarily a fitness expert or a Pilates expert or a strength training expert. It's really for everyone.
Yeah, as you know, as somebody who's like trying to get more into strength training, I think the one thing that is most frustrating is I'm looking for YouTube videos on how to do this stuff myself, and it's overwhelming. And what I need is a person to tell me what to do. I need to go to solidcore.
Yeah, it is very overwhelming. There's definitely so much content, and just obviously with the democratization of the availability to be a fitness influencer, whether it's on TikTok, YouTube, whatever channels people are on, it can definitely be overstimulating, and it can be, maybe uncomfortable for someone who's not necessarily well versed in kind of what fitness offerings there are. But solidcore definitely wants to make sure that people feel comfortable coming into our space. We are on YouTube, we are on TikTok, and just providing a lot of education around our concept so that people go in with a baseline of like, okay, I'm going to be able to tackle this and handle this. Because fitness is such a personal journey for everyone, and everyone has a different goal as to why they want to become active, why they want to live a healthy lifestyle. We want to make sure that we have our product positioned to meet all those different needs people might have.
Makes sense. Tell me a little bit about how solidcore is designed in the interior, like size, layout, things.
Yeah, so we're generally about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. We love a long space. So my dream space is 20 by 100. People don't build that anymore. So we have to be flexible and creative. We've taken all sorts of spaces, just in terms of size range. From a design perspective, really focused on keeping it clean, minimalistic, somewhat utilitarian in nature, given that people are going in there to work out, they're sweating, they're maybe, in a really, I would say, difficult position after class. We want to make sure they feel comfortable. So making sure there's amenities, front of house, making sure that there's benches for people to sit down. We also want to make sure that it stays true to our roots. So we're never going to be a company that prioritizes, I would say, the traditional luxury finishes that you might see in a full service gym. So think of, Equinox does a fantastic job of bringing that to life with the work that they do on the design side of things. So like solidcore is never going to be that. That's just not our brand DNA, our brand ethos. So it's definitely going to retain that, I would say, again, industrial minimalistic feel inside. Lots of grayscale, our signature blue lights in the studio, but still a premium experience given our price point.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What's the pricing structure look?
Yeah, so it's a tiered system. Most operators in the fitness industry are operating under that assumption, where depending on the market, they can charge different prices. So a single class in New York right now is running about in the low 40s. And then you can buy memberships or packages. There's definitely been a change in the industry in the past, I'd say 10 years, of people moving away from packages and going onto that subscription model, which I think people are getting accustomed to, getting excited about for the benefits, and not having to think about, okay, how much class inventory do I have left on my account, and do I need to go and re-up? It's just something that provides a little more consistency for the consumer.
Who's the target customer? Like, what are the demographics?
Yeah, our typical demographics are that 25 to 35-year-old female. About 95% of our clients are women.
Did you say 95?
Yes, 95. It does skew a little bit. So I think if you're in a primary metropolitan area, so think of New York, or Chicago, and LA, and Miami, you'll see some more men in our class. But traditionally, it's about a 95-5 split.
Is that because it's marketed to women? It was created for women? How did that come about?
I think boutique fitness in general has always been, A, marketed to women, and B, when we look at, I don't want to say the science, but the psychology behind fitness, generally speaking, men gravitate towards working out individually, whereas women prefer to work out in a communal setting. Providing that community and, quite frankly, the accountability of showing up, I think, is something that women really like about our spaces. But that's not to say that it's not a space for men. We definitely have male clients throughout the U.S. who love our workout, and we actually see a lot more age diversity in our male clients than our female clients, where we have men in their 60s and 70s coming to work out with us, whereas it's maybe not as typical on the female side of things, which is super interesting.
That is such a good point. I just hadn't thought about that. But yes, sort of the psychology of, as somebody, who like works out solo. I like totally get it.
Yeah.
It's this thing I'm going to do on my own. I don't need other people. I'm going to put in my podcast and do my thing, but I can totally understand like the other way is like the community of it. It's got to be really appealing.
100%. Yeah. And I think as people continue to crave that community, you're just going to see more and more retailers offering services and experiences that allow people to gather. The rise of remote work has allowed people to have just such a different opportunity set of what they want to do with their day, which is great for us because we're offering classes all different times. We have some really popular class times that I would have never thought people would want to come and work out with us at 4 a.m., but they're coming. Yeah, I'm not waking up at 3.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Well, what you're creating a sense of community. What kinds of co-tenants, in other words, what other kinds of places do you think that community wants to shop at?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the market. There's obviously varying levels of sophistication in the U.S. consumer. What our New York City girl likes is probably a little bit different than maybe what our girl in Texas likes or our girl in Colorado likes. So it's important for us to really dig in with our local teams on the operations and brokerage side to understand where is she going. I think having athleisure, other premium subscription-based services, so think like Laser Away, Dry Bar, Madison Reed, those are really critical. We love to see a grocer that's aligned with kind of where the consumer dollar is going in that space. So think of Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Fresh Market, specialty local grocers. Like in DC, we have Balducci's. We want that type of grocer as opposed to maybe a more traditional mass market operator. And then I think other things we like to see is just that buzzy all-day cafe. So think of Pura Vida, Maman, something from Two Hands. That element is really important because we do offer classes, hopefully 16 to 18 hours a day. So having some activity on site so that our consumer can pair their trip and has a reason to continue to go back is super important for us.
Talk to me about real estate. Like do you have a perfect shopping center type, location? What's the perfect location?
Yeah, I think the perfect location, again, varies by market. We really want to make sure that we're meeting the consumer where they are. That's going to look different everywhere.
Right.
So what we look at in Long Island and New York is going to look different than maybe what we look at in a relatively new suburb in Texas. Just the build typology of what the retail assets look like is so different. But our girl is going to either of these centers because that's where she lives and that's what she's accustomed to. So ideal center has some sort of daily needs component with, 2 to 4 other service users in the beauty and wellness space, has the organic grocer, and then it has that really nice run of soft goods. We're an urban first brand. I think a majority of our locations are still what you would call street retail. That's going to change over time, and we're at that tipping point, but street retail is obviously a little bit different. You can't really control the street in many situations. So we have 18 locations in New York City open by the end of next year. And the real estate game is so different here and it's so fun. And that's a totally different animal of like how we look at real estate. A lot more comes into the fold around customer journey and making sure that there's accessibility to transit, making sure that the customer feels safe. We have people walking around at 3:30 in the morning to come take class with us. So how does that feel for the client? And if there's parking involved, is that a safe journey for them? Do they feel comfortable doing that? That's super important for every retailer to think about.
How many locations right now overall?
We have 165 locations open as of last week.
Wow.
So when I started in 2022, we were at 85-ish. We'll be up to about 205 by the end of next year.
Wow. So you're working hard. You mentioned you're trying. You mentioned New York, new locations. What other markets are you expanding?
Yeah, a lot of our white space, given that we're a Northeast-based brand, is out on the West Coast. So California is a huge opportunity set for us. Continuing to grow in Texas, although wanting to make sure we're measured. Hopefully some landlords in Texas listen to this, but the rents are just getting out of control in Texas. They are crazy. So we're definitely excited about Texas, but want to make sure we don't get too ahead of our skis with just how much is being put on just the growth story there from a speculation perspective when it comes to rents. Other markets of interest, Mountain West is super interesting for us.
Oh, yeah.
So think like
you guys would be
Utah,
perfect. Yeah.
Idaho, Colorado, Nevada, like that part of the world is super compelling. We're going to continue to grow in the Pacific Northwest. We just did a big rollout over the past 24 months in the Sun Belt, Southeast, I should say. So the Atlanta, the Charlotte, the Raleigh, the Nashville. We'll continue to pepper that market and then do further infill in the Northeast and the Midwest, as well as Florida.
As an example, so we'll pick Atlanta.
Yeah.
For, in a perfect world, what would be the right number of solid cores that you would open in an Atlanta market?
Yeah, I think for an MSA of Atlanta size, about 6 million people, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 7 to 10.
Okay.
Just depending on, I think, a few factors that would play out as we open studios. Some of the most exciting work we do is when we open that first unit in a market, seeing how far people are willing to drive for us. When we did a membership mapping study in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we had people driving 90 minutes to come take class with us, which is astounding. And it really gave us conviction to do another unit there in traditionally what would be a one-unit market for a brand like ours. So that's always some of the most exciting work, is seeing how far people are willing to drive for the product. And that just informs kind of the saturation that we're willing to do, at least in this phase in the company's growth journey.
That's really dedication to drive 90
absolutely.
minutes.
To go work out.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. I have to make working out as easy as possible.
I'm the same way.
As easy as possible. Every barrier I will let stop me,
Yeah, and that's definitely important with the real estate that we pick, is like fitness is something that, again, is personal to everyone, and not everyone is super excited to go take class every time they come take class. So making sure that there's as minimal friction points, not only just with our real estate, but just our customer journey on the app and booking, paying on the website. Every single time they have to stop and think, there's another chance that they might say no and not want to commit to creating the strongest version of themselves, which is our slogan. And I think that's top of mind across all verticals of the business, including real estate, making sure that it's as easy as possible for people to come take class with us.
Are the locations corporate-owned, franchise?
They're all corporate-owned. So we are owned by L Catterton, it's a private equity group out of Greenwich, backed by LVMH. So we were acquired in October of 2024, all corporate.
So with that corporate acquisition by L Catterton, did that turbocharge your expansion? Did it change things?
It really didn't change much from a real estate perspective. I think they were really happy with the thoughtfulness and the strategy that went behind getting us to where we were when they acquired the brand. And I think they see a lot of opportunity and white space in rounding out other areas of the business and getting them ready for that next phase of growth. We're going to continue doing what we've been doing at solidcore from an expansion standpoint. Obviously, having L Catterton behind us as ownership is definitely an exciting proposition for landlords too, just given kind of the caliber of ownership there. But really hasn't changed, I would say, much from a unit count perspective or anything like that. We want to be thoughtful. Quite frankly, I'm sure a lot of retailers will tell you this, there isn't the product availability to do bigger rollouts like we saw maybe 10, 15 years ago. Like, there just is not the vacancy in the right places to be able to do the 50, 75, 100 stores. And given that we are a specialty use, we don't want to compromise on where we're opening. So every open needs to feel really good. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier, hey, shout out to Texas, your rents are too high. Are there any other, because we have landlords that listen to this show, are there any other messages you might want to say to the landlord community about how things they should or should not be doing?
Yeah, I think landlord community is doing a great job at realizing that centers need reinvigoration, reinvention. For today's consumer, I think what worked 20, 30 years ago does not work today, and people are recognizing that. And I'm so excited to see capital coming back into our space. I've been in the business for 10, 11 years now, and this is like the first time that retail is cool from an investor standpoint, which I'm super excited about.
I was like, wait a minute, retail's always been
Retail's
cool. Retail's
always been
right.
cool. But from, for others outside of our sector, it's always been kind of like, oh, those are the retail guys. Like, I want to go and invest in multifamily or industrial assets or maybe some specialty stuff in healthcare. So seeing capital come back, I think, is such a huge win because it's going to allow our landlord partners to really reinvest and bring to life things that people want. There's so many communities that are just so underserved on having those third places. And I think that those who create places that have a way of inspiring curiosity and frequency are going to be the ones that are going to win from a return perspective. And we're excited to see everything coming to life in the next few years, because there's definitely been a great uptick in development.
That's great. Do you think when you're entering a new market, does solidcore have a kind of a known brand, I don't know, through social media or things like that? Or do you find that you've got to create that buzz before you go in?
I think it's a combination of both. We have a really great marketing team on the, I would say, pre-sale side of things, when they're thinking about how do we approach a market with our ads? How do we approach a market with our activations? It's where the brand marketing team comes into play to build that buzz. We do have markets, though, where if you go to our Instagram page and it's like, hey, new coming soon studios, we get the same market requests, the same people saying, please open in Ohio, Charleston, places that we haven't gotten to yet. And that's definitely powerful for us to see because it means that we have advocates in the community. Fitness is still very much a word of mouth, I would say, industry. And that, like, if you're not going to a traditional gym, you're maybe not going to know what's behind the doors for all these boutique studios. So having a friend to say, hey, I just took this workout, it kicked my ass, or hey, I took this workout, I loved it. You have to come with me. You're going to meet new friends. You're going to be able to work on things that you've never worked on in this class. That's how we really get the snowball going. So once we open, that word of mouth is so important, which is why we're so laser focused on the client experience in the building, because that's really what's driving our business.
Gotcha. So let me ask you a fun question. When you're working out at solidcore, what's your favorite exercise to do?
Oh, God.
You're like, I don't have any.
I love something where I can lay down for a second when the coach isn't looking. I would say something in the lower body. I do not do leg day as much as I should. So lower body days are definitely the ones that I look forward to and that I get excited about. Upper body is fun, but like anything where they're making me do squats and I'm like shaking and holding onto the stability pole for dear life, like that's, I would say, my favorite part.
So wait, squats are your favorite or your least favorite?
They're my favorite, but my least favorite. They're both.
Oh, because I was going to ask you, like, what's your least favorite?
Yeah, least favorite, again, squats. Yeah.
Oh man, oh that's great. Yeah, I don't have that much of a problem with squats. I'm okay with squats. I don't have a lot of arm strength, so when I have to do like push-ups, push-ups
You're ready
are my
to tap out, yeah.
So is the corporate team at solidcore, are you all based in one place, or is it kind of people all over the place?
We, for the most part, are in the DMV area. Yeah. So we have a corporate office in Arlington, Virginia, and then I would say probably about a third of our HQ staff, given we are a retail business, is out in the field. So think directors of studios, think client experience, training managers, they're out in the field. But yeah, most of the corporate staff is in the DMV.
The fact that you're completely corporately owned, there's no franchise component, it probably means you have a lot more control over what every person experiences with your brand, right?
Yeah, and that's super, super critical whenever we talk to new landlord partners for them and understand, there's such a massive wave of investment coming into the health and wellness space right now in terms of what people are buying and looking to roll out, and a lot of it is franchised. And I think franchise provides a really great opportunity to get into communities that maybe we wouldn't get to just yet, but the quality of the operations is really going to be dependent on who's running that door.
Yeah.
And I think when landlords work with solidcore, how we're teaching our class right down the street in Chelsea on 23rd Street is how we're teaching our class in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and every single studio in between. And that's really powerful for the consumer to know that they're going to get that consistency. That's what they're paying for. So I think being able to tout that when we're coming to market is really important for us.
So you're out and about looking at locations all the time. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any new retailers or interesting concepts you've come across recently that you thought were cool, and anything out there that you've come across?
Yeah, I really love, I'm going to butcher how to say it. It's either Mio or Mio Detox. It's a physical therapy concept out of Toronto. They have a few locations in New York and LA. I think preventative medicine is the future. So much consumer spending is going to continue to go towards, again, longevity and just making sure that you're thinking about your health from a 360 lens. So them offering physical therapy in an elevated setting where you're getting that consistency in product, I think is really interesting. And also people are going to approach it more as preventative medicine and taking a look at stretching and moving their body to allow it to continue to function the way they want it to. I think that's really powerful and interesting. So that's something I'm excited about. And then I'm also just happy that all of the fun cafe, all-day cafes from the East Coast, like Pura Vida and Maman, are just out on a tear taking over the world, because it's great to be able to just pop in, grab a croissant, grab a matcha, and just hang out and just have those spaces. I think a lot of communities are still lacking that, and I'm excited to see those guys continue to grow across the U.S.
Wow, what a great answer. Okay, a follow-up question. What's your favorite market to visit?
Oh, gosh. Selfishly, I love going and touring Miami because it's where I'm from. So it's fun to see what's new and what's next, especially on the food and beverage side. Love going out to California, such a dynamic market that I think a lot of retailers don't understand in the way that they need to make the right decisions in terms of where they open, just kind of the sequencing there. And I've also really I've grown to love the Pacific Northwest. Seattle and Portland, super interesting markets.
Gosh. Yeah. Let me back up. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean about sequencing.
Yeah. Just thinking about a rollout as a corporate brand, I think you need to be cognizant of what's important for the brand to accomplish in Unit 1 is very different than what Unit 10 needs to be.
I love this. I'm going to dig in more.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You're making the brand statement of
Absolutely.
Unit 1. So it's got to be the perfect, right?
Yeah. And I think perfect looks different in different markets. I think perfect in a market that we are really visible in from a perspective of brand halo and other markets that are close by is going to be different than a market where we don't have a location for hundreds of miles. I think that's going to drive the strategy a little bit. I think what type of deal structure you're getting on your first deal is going to need to look different, and there's going to need to be a little bit more flexibility for us as a tenant, and that's something that landlords always have a hard time understanding. But at the end of the day, like, this is a retail business. A lot of things can go wrong. It's not 100% success rate for everyone every single time, as landlords know. So it's important to have that flexibility too when we're thinking about Unit 1 and 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Josh Rainey with solidcore, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
And if you want to hear more interviews, audio retail tours, and new research insights, you can subscribe to Where We Buy on the iPhone podcast app or on Spotify. Pretty much wherever you find your podcast, just go on and search for Where We Buy. And you can also find us on the web at wherewebuy.show. All right, that's a wrap.